I think most would tell you like, hey, I want better service, but I'm not willing to, give up a whole bunch of value and money as part of the transaction to get it. So consumers are thinking, okay, not only do I want cash back, that's fantastic. I still want the same great service, if not better service in doing that. So you got to like go out and actually deliver a superior experience than they would have gotten from, I think it was, you said like, sisters, cousins, cousin or something like that,
Sure.
right? Like that third connection. So
100%. And that's one of the things I learned in digital banking was, there was this conventional wisdom at the time, 20 years ago, that customers needed the branch. And that maybe if they used the internet channel or an app, it would be at the expense of the branch or something like that. Actually, customers they want everything to work. They don't want to really think about how it works. They just want it to be better. And by creating better digital tools, we were able to have customers say, okay, that builds trust because it just works. It builds trust with the customer, which then allows you to innovate value propositions on top of that create the value, which convinces them to actually give you a try in the first place. And we found that same thinking is true here in real estate, that you have to actually have not just the better tools. That's great, but that's table stakes. One of the things about real estate, though, is unlike many industries, and you'll obviously find this as well in the mortgage space, is it's a very infrequent transaction. Your mortgage might be every 3 to 5 years as you renew it. But actually buying or selling a home is something people only do 4, 5, 6 times in their life. It's an average of every 7 years in Canada. And oftentimes, as we've been targeting first-time home buyers for the first couple of years, you don't know what you don't know. So you're going into this thinking, okay, well, this is how everybody does it. So you actually have to do something radically better to have consumers question conventional wisdom and say, okay, I'm actually going to try this. And for us, it's great that they try the app and they use it, but it costs a lot of money to put all of the technological capabilities and all the data acquisition into this app. So we also need to be able to monetize that in a way. And that's where the value proposition comes in and is equally important to this.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said in that the transaction is so infrequent that people might not even remember how much the last one sucked, right?
Right.
They might have done their last housing transaction 10 years ago when they bought their previous home. It might have been terrible. I've experienced that too, even on the mortgage side where we're over here, we know what a great mortgage experience looks like. And we'll look back and we'll remember a client or something like that. Like, ooh, that last one was really rough. We ended up closing on the mortgage, but it was ugly right up until the last second. And we're like, that client's never going to work with us again. They'll come back to us 3 to 5 years later and they'd be like, hey, so excited to work with you guys again. It's time to take a look at that renewal. We're like, whoa, didn't you remember how bad it was? They don't sometimes.
Right, and they have no baseline to compare it to. So they don't know if it would have even worse somewhere else.
And consequently, when it's great, they don't
right.
They're like, that was good.
Yeah, they just take it for granted. Okay, I got my mortgage. I now owe you money for the next 25 years. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the bill. Yeah. So, trying to create that consistency across the experience, it sounds like what you guys are doing is trying to marry that, what we would call an old fashioned handheld approach through a real estate agent, which clients still love, but enhancing that human being experience with technology rather than a full technology replacement for the human experience. Am I understanding that correctly? And that
that's exactly right, Bekim.
Yeah.
I don't believe that customers are ever, or maybe it's just a very rare customer that would do this, but the general mainstream customer is ever going to want or expect a one-click Amazon experience, like buy my house now and, just send me the bill $1 million and the mortgage is going to be signed up. I think customers want to take control of the situation, but buying a house is a very, very involved experience. It involves often a lot of human emotion. We believe that we should add some data and consistency to add a little bit of rationality to that as well, so that we can balance both that emotional aspect of buying where you're really going to live, where you're going to raise your family, where you're going to sleep, where you're going to, maybe work, with ensuring that it's done in a sane, rational way, that it's purchased at a price that's fair for both the buyer and the seller. It's done for buyers with eyes wide open, so they're not risking their family's future by not putting the appropriate conditions on an offer, and making sure that they do an inspection so they go in eyes wide open, knowing what they're getting into, et cetera. There's a lot of things here that are a little bit complex and intricate. And it's one thing to go buy that book or cord to charge your laptop with one click on Amazon. But I think the house, just like the mortgage, is a much more intricate experience that should be put onto steroids, for lack of a better word, with better user experience, better app design, better data, better information, and ultimately better advice using all of that.
I think you said it. Like, it's just such a big transaction. It evokes so much fear from people. In the data that we've gathered and the surveys that we've run, clients actually aren't as concerned with the how. They care more about the what. And what I mean by that is when they're thinking about the mortgage transaction, the real estate transaction as a whole, and we start selling all of our value propositions that we're like deeply proud of over here, like we built this, we built that, we built it. Clients are like, yeah, I don't really care. I just want the most certainty that I can get through this very stressful period of my life.
Sure.
So I need to know that this mortgage is clear to close and that the real estate transaction is going to go through as planned without an entire mess. So like whatever you need to do, Benjy and Bekim and the team, to like figure that out is whatever you need to make happen. I don't want a whole bunch of bumps in the road. I don't want to be within 24 hours of my signing date wondering, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? I just want to know, like, as soon as I give you what you tell me you need, you check the boxes. I get a whole bunch of green boxes saying that we're good to go and that it actually gets delivered on, period. And we always come back to this word, which is certainty. Clients want certainty.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would notice if for whatever reason there wasn't certainty. You know, it's the same thing with technology. In my career, I found many firms pursue technology for technology's sake. But technology exists as a means to an end. So in your case, it could be about certainty. And in some cases, technology is the best way to get there. In other cases, it's human process is the best way to get there. And I think it's important to not lose sight on what is the end goal, which in your case is certainty.